What you are about to hear is not fiction. It is not a movie plot. It is not a nightmare someone dreamed up in a dark room. This is real. It happened in one of the safest neighborhoods in America. And when investigators finally stepped through that front door, the most seasoned among them said he had never seen anything like it in his entire career. Not the blood, not the bodies, not even the smell that hit them before they ever touched the doorknob. What broke them was what came after. What that boy did next. How he just continued living, breathing, eating, walking the dog, shoveling the driveway, smiling at the neighbors, all while his mother and stepfather lay dead inside that house. For 17 days. You think you know what kind of person does something like this. You picture a monster. Something obviously broken. Something that screams danger from miles away. But what if the most terrifying part of this case is that this boy was none of those things? What if he was ranked third in his class? What if he had perfect school attendance? What if he was joining the National Honor Society? What if everyone who ever met him walked away thinking he was polite, kind, and completely normal? And what if beneath all of that, he was building a plan so dark, so calculated, and so far-reaching that even the FBI was shaken when they uncovered it? This is the story of Nikita Casap, a 17-year-old boy from Waukesha, Wisconsin. A boy who shot his mother and stepfather in cold blood. A boy who then lived alone with their decomposing bodies for nearly 2 weeks before fleeing across the country. And a boy who was not finished. Not even close. Because murdering his own family was only step one. Stay right here. Because this is the channel that goes deeper than the headlines, deeper than the courtroom, deeper than anyone else dares to go. You are watching Darkness of Beneath Crimes. And this one will stay with you. February 28, 2025. A quiet winter morning in the village of Waukesha, Wisconsin. Waukesha is not the kind of place where things like this happen. It is an affluent, peaceful, Midwestern community. Friendly neighbors. Well-kept lawns. The kind of American suburb where parents feel safe letting their kids walk to school. The kind of place where a double murder is not just rare, it is almost unimaginable. But on this particular morning, law enforcement receives a call that changes everything. The call does not come from inside the neighborhood. It comes from a grandmother. A worried grandmother hundreds of miles away who had not been able to reach her family. She could not get through to her son. She could not locate her 17-year-old grandson. And she had a feeling, that deep, cold, twisting feeling that something was terribly wrong. Deputies from the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department respond to Cedar Hills Drive to perform a welfare check. They have no idea what is waiting for them inside that house. Before they even step through the front door, it hits them. The smell. Experienced investigators. Veterans of countless crime scenes. And yet, one of the first responders would later say those words that have never left anyone who heard them. That was the worst scene he had ever been to in his life. And he knew it before he even walked inside. Decomposition. Thick, heavy, and undeniable, hanging in the cold Wisconsin air. They push through the door. Inside that house on Cedar Hills Drive, they find 35-year-old Tatiana Casap in the hallway. She is still wearing her winter coat. She never even made it past the entryway. She had been shot at least 3 times. Twice in the stomach, once in the neck, and then covered with blankets and towels, left exactly where she fell. In the first floor office, they find 51-year-old Donald Mayer. He is at his desk, as if he sat down to get some work done and simply never got back up. He has a massive wound to the back of his head. He too has been covered with blankets. And investigators notice something that stops them cold. Candles. Positioned near the body. Not lit now, but clearly burned before. Dripped wax. Someone had stood here. Someone had lit those candles. And someone had stayed. Pictures ripped from the walls. Clothing thrown from closets. Shelves stripped bare. Drawers turned inside out. Every room torn apart. The house looks like a violent, chaotic burglary. But something about this scene is wrong. The wrongness is not just in what investigators see. It is in what they do not see. There is number 17-year-old boy. There is no family dog. There is a vehicle missing from the driveway. Investigators begin asking the question every parent dreads. Where is the kid? Is there a third body buried somewhere under all these blankets? Has he been kidnapped? Is he running? Is he already dead? They scour every inch of that house. Every pile of clothing. Every dark corner. Every closet. No third body. No Nikita. No answers. Just two people who had built a life together, reduced to decomposing remains inside their own home. In a neighborhood so safe, their neighbors had noticed nothing unusual for nearly 3 weeks. To understand what happened inside that house, you have to understand who these people were. Nikita Casap was 35 years old. She came from Moldova, a small, deeply resilient country tucked between Romania and Ukraine in Eastern Europe, just north of the Black Sea. Life in Moldova is not easy. Tatiana had made a choice to build something better. She met a man named Donald Mayer online. She traveled Europe with him. She fell in love. And in June of 2017, she packed up her life, took her young son by the hand, and crossed an ocean to start over in America. Nikita was 10 years old when they arrived. He came from a country where his name sounded normal, where his accent matched everyone else's. And then suddenly he was the kid at a Wisconsin middle school who spoke differently, who was starting from zero. That is not easy for anyone. But by every outward measure, Nikita Casap adapted remarkably well. Donald Mayer took this boy in without hesitation, treated him like his own son, provided him with a good home, a safe neighborhood, and real opportunity. The family took vacations together. They built a life together. By all accounts, it was a genuinely loving home. Nikita thrived academically. He joined the future business leaders of America. He competed at the regional level in cybersecurity and finished second place. He was working toward membership in the National Honor Society. He ranked third in his class at Waukesha West High School. He was talking about going to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He wanted to study engineering. From the outside, this was the American dream working exactly as it was supposed to. But there was something else happening inside Nikita Casap that no one could fully see. He was online, constantly, and the places he was going on the internet were not normal. He was researching serial killers, school shootings, mass murders. He was watching graphic war footage. He was consuming what investigators would later describe as gore edits. Violent footage overlaid with music. Content designed to desensitize, to harden, to radicalize. He had almost no close friends at school. Whatever social connection he craved, he was not finding it in the hallways of Waukesha West. He was finding it in dark corners of the internet instead. And those dark corners were finding him right back. There is one person who knew something was wrong. A classmate. A girl who had been in contact with Nikita in the weeks before everything unraveled. Authorities would refer to her only as Witness A to protect her identity. And what Witness A told investigators was chilling. Weeks before February 11th, Nikita had told her he was thinking about killing himself. And then he told her something even more disturbing. He said that before he did that, he might kill his parents first, so they would not have to suffer through losing him. Witness A took that seriously. She pressed him on it. He backed off. Said he did not have a gun. Said he would never actually do it. He had already taken a photograph of himself holding a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum on January 28th, 2 weeks before the murders. That gun existed inside the Mayer home. And Nikita knew exactly where it was. February 11, 2025. The exact date investigators believe is when everything ended for Tatiana and Donald. He killed Donald first, shot him in the back of the head while he was at his desk. Then he waited. He sat inside that house with his stepfather's body, and he waited for his mother to come home. Nikita Casap came through that front door still wearing her winter coat. She never had a chance to take it off. She was shot at least 3 times and left where she collapsed in the hallway. Nikita Casap was 17 years old. And then he did something that no investigator, no psychologist, and no jury would ever fully be able to explain. He stayed. Not for an hour. Not for a day. For 17 days. He went to school the very next morning. He submitted his coursework electronically. He texted Donald's employer pretending to be Donald, saying he was sick and could not come in. He called Tatiana's relatives pretending everything was fine. He texted his grandmother. He maintained the fiction of a functioning household from every direction simultaneously. And then he went to Culver's. He walked the dog. He shoveled the driveway. He went grocery shopping. He took out the trash on trash day. 2 bodies decomposing behind the walls he walked past every single day. And this is where this case breaks open into something none of the investigators were prepared for. A camera left behind in the house. A memory card recovered by investigators. On that memory card, Nikita Casap had documented himself inside that house. Candles lit near Donald Myers' covered body. Nikita filming. Nikita narrating. Standing over his stepfather's remains, calmly describing what he was looking at. Investigators described what they found on that card as some of the most disturbing evidence they had ever encountered. This was not the behavior of someone in shock. This was not grief. This was fascination. Ritualistic. Deliberate. Calculated. And while he was living in that house for those 17 days, he was not idle. He was systematically tearing it apart, pulling pictures from walls to check for hidden safes, stripping closets, rifling through every drawer, every shelf, every document. He was searching for cash, for jewelry, for valuables, for anything he could take. Because Nikita Casap was not finished. Murdering his family was a step, a transaction, a means to an end, and nobody yet understood what that end was. If you are watching this right now and this story has already grabbed you the way I know it has, then this channel was made exactly for you. Darkness of Beneath Crimes exists to go further than anyone else into the cases that demand real answers. Hit that like button right now and subscribe, because what comes next in this story is something the mainstream coverage barely scratched the surface of. By February 23, 2025, Nikita Casap had gathered everything he needed. Nearly $14,000 in cash. Approximately 70 pieces of his mother's jewelry. His parents' passports and driver's licenses. Financial cards. Birth certificates. Multiple cameras and laptops. Old cell phones. Electronics. Family photo albums, filled with pictures of him and the people he had just killed. He loaded it all into Donald Myers' SUV. He put the family dog in the back seat. And he drove away. He was 17 years old. He did not have a driver's license. What followed was one of the most bizarre cross-country flights in the history of Wisconsin law enforcement that he drove south through Illinois. Across Iowa, where he stopped at the world's largest truck stop on February 24th, as if he had nothing more urgent to do than see a roadside landmark. Through Nebraska, into Wyoming, down through Colorado, into Kansas. For nearly 4 days, nobody knew where he was. The bodies on Cedar Hills Drive were not discovered until February 28th. The emergency pings on his phone started bouncing back, placing him hundreds of miles away and moving further with every hour. There was a real possibility he was going to make it out of the country entirely. And then, in the rural plains of northwestern Kansas, Nikita Casap rolled through a stop sign. One rolling stop. One traffic violation. One patrol officer who ran the plates on that SUV and got a hit back from Waukesha County, which had entered the vehicle as stolen just in time. If Nikita had done that the day before, he would have gotten a ticket and driven on. The timing was everything. He was arrested on February 28, 2025, in Waukesha, Kansas. Donald Myers' .357 Magnum was sitting in plain view on the passenger side floorboard. And used ammunition and shell casings were in the car. Both of his parents' driver's licenses were in the vehicle. And in the back seat, the family dog was still alive. Investigators said they were very glad about that. When detectives searched that SUV, what they found was a portrait of a mind that had gone somewhere terrifying. The gun, the cash, the jewelry, the electronics, but also the family photo albums, the birth certificates, the cameras, and on one of those cameras, the memory card from inside the house. And then investigators started digging deeper into his phone, into his laptops, into his accounts, into the encrypted apps he had been using. And this is where this case explodes into something nobody in that department had ever dealt with before. Nikita Casap had been on Telegram, not using it to talk to friends, not using it for school. He had been using it to make contact with extremists. Radical anti-government groups. People operating in the darkest possible corners of the online world. He had been in contact with a Russian speaker. Investigators found messages from January 2025, weeks before the murders, in which Nikita was asking questions about his plan. He asked how long he would need to hide before being relocated. He asked about living in Ukraine after it was all over. He actually asked, "So while in Ukraine, will I be able to live a normal life? Even when it's found out I did it?" He was planning this. In writing. On a phone he carried in his pocket to school every single day. Investigators found material connected to an organization described in FBI documents as a satanic cult with violent anti-government ideology. A group that claimed to incite chaos and violence. Nikita had been consuming their material and communicating with members. And then they found the manifesto, a 3-page document, anti-Semitic, praising Adolf Hitler, and with a very specific, explicit target, the President of the United States. The manifesto, according to federal court documents, specifically referenced getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president as the path toward triggering the collapse of the US government so it could be rebuilt according to his ideology. Then investigators found what he had already paid for. A drone. And explosives. Intended to be weaponized. Intended to be used as what federal prosecutors described as a weapon of mass destruction. The plan was to get close enough to the President of the United States, deploy a weaponized drone, and drop an IED. This was not an idle fantasy scribbled in a notebook. Federal investigators said he had actually paid for parts of this plan. He had communicated it to others. He had been told by people online exactly how to proceed, and the murder of his own mother and stepfather was, according to the federal search warrant, specifically designed to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to carry out that assassination. They were not killed in a moment of rage. They were not killed because of an argument. They were killed because Nikita Casap needed $14,000 in cash, a vehicle, and the freedom to move without anyone asking questions. They were killed because they were in the way. This is when the FBI arrived. And when they dug into the timeline, something almost unbearable emerged. The FBI had already investigated Nikita Casap back in 2023. 2 years earlier, his own mother, Tatiana, had called the Bureau herself. She had been worried enough about her son to contact federal authorities. The FBI came, They investigated. They found nothing actionable at the time. They left. Tatiana Casap spent 2 years living in the same house as the person she had tried to warn the world about. And on February 11, 2025, she came home from work and was shot 3 times before she could take off her coat. When the detective who transported Nikita back from Kansas described that flight home, the words he used were memorable. Quiet. Occasional small jokes. Shallow small talk. Not distressed. Not tearful. Not visibly broken by what he had done or what was waiting for him back in Wisconsin. Just there. At his arraignment weeks later, he appeared in court in a suicide vest, no shirt, visibly thin. He looked like a scared teenager, knees shaking under the table as the charges were read aloud. 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. Class A felonies. Mandatory life sentences. 8 additional charges including hiding a corpse, identity theft, and theft of property. 10 counts total, and at that arraignment, the gallery was full of reporters, legal professionals, and court staff. Not a single person was there for Nikita Casap. Nobody. Bail was set at $1 million. Nobody paid it. As the case moved through the courts, the prosecution built what one prosecutor described as a puzzle where every single piece fit. There was no video of the murders, but there was everything else. The digital trail, the text impersonations, the camera memory card, the telegram messages, the manifesto, the gun found in the car, the decomposition odor on clothing in the vehicle, the shell casings, the cash. The picture was complete and it was damning beyond any reasonable dispute. In January 2026, Nikita Casap stood in Waukesha County Circuit Court and entered a guilty plea to both counts of first-degree intentional homicide. 7 other charges, including the corpse concealment counts, were dismissed as part of the agreement. He trembled. His chair was visibly shaking. He answered every question with the same 2 words. Yes, Your Honor, that in February of 2025, when Nikita Casap committed these crimes, he was 17 years old. On the day he pulled that trigger, he was legally too young to vote, too young to sign a contract, too young to buy a lottery ticket, too young to enlist in the military. His defense team argued that his youth made him vulnerable, susceptible to online manipulation, and not fully formed as a person. The victim's family came to court and asked for the maximum. Donald Meyer's childhood best friend described a man who was a son, a brother, a husband, and a source of love to everyone who knew him. He described 2 lives erased in a single act of violence. He asked the court to recognize not just the deaths, but the complete destruction of everything those 2 lives had ever touched. Donald's brother came to court too. He looked the judge in the eye and asked that Nikita Casap never be allowed to return to any community, ever. The district attorney was direct. This was not a child who snapped under abuse. This was not a desperate act born from a broken home. He had a loving family. He had good schooling. He had support. He went on vacations with these people. The internet did not load. The GUN.IT did not tell him to build this plan. That decision belonged entirely to Nikita Casap. She asked for life without the possibility of parole on both counts, to run consecutively. And then Nikita himself addressed the court. He spoke about worrying about his mother when she climbed on the counter to reach something high on a shelf. He spoke about how he would insist she let him get it for her instead. And then he said, plainly and without flinching, that this was the mother he chose to kill. He said there was no excuse for what he had done, that he had become obsessed with hateful thoughts, that he believed the world was sick and evil and that extreme action was justified, that he thought he was part of a revolution. He said he was sorry. He cried. And here is where this case refuses to give easy answers, because those tears looked real. People who have spent their careers reading defendants in courtrooms said they believed the grief was genuine. A boy who cried about the death of his mother while knowing he was the one who put her on that hallway floor. Some things, as one observer put it, are truly irreconcilable. On March 5, 2026, Judge Ralph Ramirez sentenced Nikita Casap. He called the offenses horrific, inexplicable. He said he did not have a crystal ball to tell him whether or when a profound change could occur in this person. 2 life sentences. No possibility of parole. No possibility of extended supervision. No possibility of release. He will spend the rest of his life inside a Wisconsin state prison. He is 18 years old. Tatiana Casap was 35. She came from a small country, crossed an ocean, built a family, and was shot to death in her own hallway by the child she raised. Donald Mayer was 51. He welcomed a foreign-born boy into his home, loved him as a son, and was shot in the back of his head at his desk. They had 9 years of marriage. A dog named Toby. A house on Cedar Hills Drive in one of the safest neighborhoods in Wisconsin. They deserve to grow old. Now let me ask you something directly, because this is the part that does not make the headlines. This was not the first warning sign. His own mother called the FBI 2 years before her death. He told a classmate weeks before the murders that he was thinking about killing his parents. He photographed himself with the murder weapon 2 weeks before pulling the trigger. He was active in extremist chat rooms for months, possibly years, before this happened. Every single alarm had been sounded. And yet here we are. We live in a time when the most dangerous radicalization in the world is happening silently, in the bedrooms of teenagers, on platforms we use every single day. These extremist networks are not random. They hunt for specific targets. Isolated kids. Kids without strong social ties. Kids who feel invisible. Kids who are searching for purpose and belonging and stumble into a community that hands them a cause wrapped in a gun. They only need to succeed once. And in Waukesha, Wisconsin, on February 11, 2025, they did. This is the channel that does not look away. Darkness of Beneath Crimes goes into the cases the world glosses over and pulls out every documented detail so that you understand not just what happened, but how it could happen and what it means. If this story shook you the way it shook me when I researched it, do not leave this channel. Hit subscribe right now. Hit the like button. Because every story on this channel is built the same way this one was. Fact by fact. Layer by layer. All the way to the bottom. Tatiana Casap and Donald Mayer deserved someone to tell their story completely. This was their story. And the person who took it from them will never see another free day for as long as he lives. Some cases change how you see the world. This is one of them.